How long has that been in the process? Like, did you just pick up the from the very first season? You're like, build a corner eventually.
So there's a lot of stuff back here from many eras. All
Hmm.
right. So it goes back to my first, I saw my original Road Rules shirt that they gave me, the t-shirt. That I actually let my father borrow every once in a while. He thinks it's cool to wear it around Florida, so that's cool. But there's so many mementos back here from Road Rules, which next year it's his 30th anniversary in July, which is insane. So look out. I'm going to try to get something going for that, my friend.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is certainly when it comes to your legacy in the challenge, it's very storied for a number of reasons. That also segues really nicely into Battle of the Eras because I mean it's been a while since we've seen you on a mainline challenge show, right? You sort of
Right.
like softly retired back during Battle of the X's, obviously with the whole We Want OGs campaign turning into All Stars. That certainly brought you back to a certain extent and definitely changed your role behind the scenes. So, what was your reaction to get asked back to MTV proper?
Well, first of all, so thankful for All Stars. They've been such great partners. So shout out to Julie Peasy and Dan Casser. They're great. They love the show. They were supported to the end. But when I got the call, I remember getting the first call and they're like, "Hey, Mark," and it was the casting person, and she said, "Do you know why I'm calling you?" And I was like, "All Stars," and she's like, "No, it's actually for season 40 of the franchise." And I'm like, I remember I was like outside of a grocery store. I'm like, "Oh, wow, really? Okay." So I was the fact that I did my initial challenge in 1998 and then getting a call in 2024 to be a part of it. First of all, very grateful. Um, Doing that show in 98 opened up so many opportunities for me and really put me down a path of a great little entertainment run and career, which I'm still heavily involved in. And I said this earlier. I said, you would think I'd be less relevant now, but I feel like I'm even more relevant now than I was back then, which is crazy. But I feel like that's kudos to our fan base too. So many of our fans have grown up with us. I have so many people that are like, I watched you on your original Road Rules. Now I watch, the challenge and the tour, the challenge All Stars with my daughter or my son. So like hearing that for me is so special because, you know, it's I love nostalgia, whether it's music, whether it's flashback pop culture stuff like a Road Rules or a challenge All Star. So I feel what they're saying and I love it. So the fact that I got called to be a part of it was amazing. And I feel like we should all be lucky to be there. And it's the best show ever. It's the best show on TV. It's got such a great fan base. And like I said, this definitely isn't my last rodeo. The Godfather is only getting started. Let's just say that, Mike.
Well, it might also partially be because of your rather early boot, unfortunately, from the season. I want to fast forward to the end there because obviously you being up against Derek in a pole wrestle has so many complications involved. It's safe to say from the way you described how much you talk with the people of Era One that he was certainly someone you were the closest to. And even just from a pragmatic perspective, you had a noticeable size advantage, but pole wrestle is kind of Derek's home turf. So talk to me about your own emotions kind of walking into that elimination with Derek in particular.
Well, first of all, Derek is like a brother to me outside of this. And he was like, "Are you mad that I made that decision? Are you upset?" He's like, "I just felt like I owed Darrell." And I was like, "Derek, you're like my brother outside of this." Absolutely not. I'm like, we're here to make great TV. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I'm not mad at you. And going into it and then pulling pole wrestle, the crazy thing is Johnny pulled me aside and was like, I think being tall and lankier is not the best shape for this pole wrestle. So he's like, try to use your weight, lean on him. So we all saw what Derek did to Joss, who was much bigger than him. And again, I think that is Derek's elimination. He's like a pit bull that you give a bone to. And it's
Mm.
very hard to get that away from him. And I tried to lay on him. I think I tried to bite his ear once. I don't know what I was doing, but uh it was bittersweet. But I will say this. I said if one of us won, we both won for how we felt. And I'm hoping that his win against me gives him the confidence and kind of wind behind his sails to kind of boost him through the season. So I'm anxious to see how far he goes. I am rooting for him. He's my number one pick. And was it bittersweet that I had to leave him? Of course. But just being there with Era One and how close the boys and the women were, it was amazing We got to spend a lot of time in the hotel before we even started, which was great. It was like a little summer camp before we started. So, I mean, on the show, I was only there for what? This is the second or third episode, but like I felt like I was there for like a month. So it didn't feel like it was soon that I left. So it was amazing. And I think the production, they came through. The house looks amazing. So yeah, it was great.
Well, I mean, you talk about maybe this new wave of support around The Godfather. It might be due in part of the fact that you got to meet a bunch of newer faces of the show. Now, I know you doing through stuff like Challenge Mania and otherwise, these are not like complete strangers, but talk to me about your reaction to getting to meet some of these newer faces and whether or not they surprised you given what you watched them on screen prior to this.
Well, what's great about the newer cast members is, which I noticed, is they really treat me with like the utmost respect. They know I've been there since the beginning and kind of laid the framework for what the show is, which I always think I'm always so grateful for that, because I feel that with like a Kyland or a Nerys, or Horacio's giving me praise, or even like the Tories of the world, or Devin. So it's nice to have that respect, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to put Era One first, always. But it's nice to be in that house now. I've hosted so many of these Challenge Mania lives and met them, and have had great relationships with them before going into that house. But it was nice to see them in that atmosphere of,
Hmm.
okay, we're in the challenge house. The lines are drawn, 4 eras. Of course, you want your era to be the best, and it's going to be fun to see how this plays out. I loved the episode of the eliminations. I thought from start to finish, it was one of the greatest episodes ever. So action packed. There was rivals that needed to settle it in the sand that we got to see, and it couldn't have been a more perfect episode. Editing wise was phenomenal. So hats off to Buna Murray and MTV, because it was a great. I've had many people say, who media people have said, who have watched it, said that was a great episode. So I'm glad that you guys liked it as much as us.
Well, something that gets you into that epic night of eliminations is this first daily. And I know there's also discrepant reports from people as to like what may have happened with them, where they finished. Talk to me about from your perspective, because again, this is your first time back on the main show in over a decade. It's a very stacked group, Era One, but it's still last place out of the men in your group. What ended up happening there?
I knew I was cursed from the beginning, and I'm going to tell you why. So TJ's like, you guys are going to run down here and you're going to build this 3D number 40. Well, first of all, I'm a very visual guy. I like to see what I'm building. This is what we're building. It looks like this. We didn't get that. So I made the mistake of running down there. Brad was ahead of me, but Brad ran past our checkpoint. So he was like gone off, he had to come back. So I got to our area first, and I made the mistake of getting the first table. So I was basically just facing production. So if I'm honest with you, I had no one to look at, what are other people doing? Like, what is this thing even
Ah,
shaped like?
so yeah, you sat at the front of the class. Yeah, you can't
Yes,
copy off of anybody.
I had no one to copy off of. And I'm looking like, what do I do? I don't know if it's like a square with the 40 cut out. I don't know if it's actual. I don't know what I'm building. So I just start moving blocks around. And I remember I turned to Derek at one point. And I'm like, Derek, if you finish before me, you better not knock that puzzle down. You leave that bastard up, because I need some help. So he was gracious enough to leave his puzzle up. But that was my first era, right, in this thing. Then I get in the boat, and I feel like my boat was like, not that it was taking on water, but it already had water in it when I got in the boat. And then we're supposed to take these light things and put them in this bag they gave us. So the bag, I start filling the bag. Then once I pick up the bag has a hole in it. All the lights fall out onto the boat. Half of them, the lights go off because it was water. So right off the bat, I'm like, this just might not be my time. I said, this is not going well. And I will say this, though. I finished before every other era's last boy. So I was not the last one. I will say that Rachel goes, just so you know, you beat all the other last place people. I'm like, well, that's a win for me.
There we go. Exactly.
Yes,
So,
but definitely, I would have liked some sort of, with puzzles. It's like I actually on All Stars 3 beat Jordan in a puzzle. So
yeah.
so puzzles to me are, I either get it right away and I know what I'm doing, or it's like I'm doing Chinese arithmetic. And that particular day or night, which was very late at night, I was like, I don't know what I'm building. I have no idea. I might as well start throwing these blocks into the water. You know what I mean? I'm like, me and Anissa, we're like, what are we doing?
Well, we do send you off in style with this big surprise of the karma vote, where you get to do like an exit survey, basically, and rate all the people that are left in the game. I'm sure there are so many names, and I'm not sure if you remember them all. But are there any like highlights or lowlights you can remember from your ratings?
Oh, well, obviously, Era One all got fives. Like
Mm.
all of Era One got fives. I remember I gave Johnny, I think, four points because he's one of my guys. Um, I feel like as the eras went, Era One, I feel like they got less and less just because I kind of am like a sucker for the old school. So even like Era Two and Era One, I gave a little bit more. But it's fun that we get to kind of impact the game. We'll see how that plays out. But it was fun that when he first held us there, we all thought there was a redemption house. We're like, are we going to redemption house? And I remember Amanda covers her face and she's like, oh no, thinking she was going to go in there, but luckily for her, we didn't go in there. But yeah, the karma points were great, and it's going to be amazing to see how they play out in this game.
Last thing I want to ask, I'm going to throw it back to the shit they should have shown, Mark. I know that your time in Vietnam was short but sweet, but if you could give us an opportunity, if there was one thing that you wished we had seen that made the edit, either like from a strategy perspective, character perspective, humor perspective, what would that be?
I just had this conversation with Johnny and Derek one afternoon, right after, I think it was after the first competition. The rooms were split up. So it was 1 and 2 on this side of the house and 3 and 4 and a huge space in between. Era three like threw over like an M&M and it hit on our side. And we looked over and they're all laughing, whatnot. I shit you not, Mike. Within 90 seconds, we had built a professional rocket launcher with Derek's workout band, and we started firing fruit, toilet paper rolls dipped in water. We were destroying their house, and enough that they came over and said, "Guys, white flag, we're done. You guys beat us." So the fact that Era One was clever enough within 90 seconds to come back with a full-on rocket launcher and just destroy them was just shows the ingenuity of Era One. So I hope they show that in one of the clips on their .coms or their Instagrams, because I was like, Johnny, how do they not show the boomerang fight? He's like, I have no idea. So if you're watching MTV, put that up on the challenge Instagram, because that was epic.
Yeah, just showing Battle of the Arrows extends beyond the dailies and the eliminations. It took
A
place on a
hundred
minute by
percent.
minute basis.
Jordan coming over going, we give up. Please stop ruining our room. I mean, we were shooting full on whole toilet paper rolls dipped in water, just I think 100 miles an hour across the thing, just splattering in the room. It
Oh,
was amazing. It was very, you know what it was? It was very Era One. It was very old school.
there we go. Well, thank you for coming in with info as hot and fast as a 100-mile-per-hour soaking wet roll of toilet paper. I'm
Yes.
someone that is one of those OG fans. I'm getting to see, your appearance as a representation of not only those old school days, but also how that's been reawakened through the form of All Stars. It was really cool, and obviously, I wish it was for a longer time and that we were chatting much further down the line here. But from what you're saying, it seems like a when not if that you just sort of awoke yourself out of this cryogenic state when it came to the mainline show. And so, regardless of when we see you next time, I'm pumped to see when it's going to happen.
Mike, I am just getting started, my friend. And thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. The pleasure was all mine. Well, thank you again for taking the time to chat with me. All the best to you and yours. Keep preserving that shrine for the next time we get to talk and the next
Yes.
time I see you. And thanks so much again, Mark. This was great.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.